Network to the world. Subscribe now to the Hot 97 YouTube channel. It's Ebro in the Morning with Laura Stiles and Rosenberg.
It's Ebro in the Morning, Laura Stiles, Rosenberg, and give it up for our friend Malik Yoba on the program.
Yeah.
My brother, my real brother in real life. And Malik, introduce us to your friend. Who is this?
This is the chief diversity officer for New York City Public Schools, Miss Karine Apollon. She's my hero. She's the shiro, and she's one of my keynote speakers at our activation on Friday, tomorrow.
Well, and that's why Malik is here on the program, because tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday, this weekend at the Brooklyn Navy Yard, it's a very important conversation, specifically called From the Ground Up, and it's about real estate and investing in Brooklyn. Tell us a little bit more, Karine, about this activation.
Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. While we know that there's a huge economic empowerment opportunity in New York City, a lot of times it's not getting to our communities, our Black and brown vendors, our MWB vendors. And it's amazing to partner with Malik in this activation to bring together all those that are thinking about what we need to do to engage small businesses, MWB businesses, as well as students and entrepreneurship opportunities. That's why I'm so excited to be part of this event with New York City Public Schools, because we know that New York City has been a hub for business and for innovation for many, many decades. And MWBE businesses, women and minority-owned businesses have been at a disadvantage, including when contracted with New York City Public Schools. And now this activation will help us to hear more about how we can work together to ensure that the dollars are going into our communities, to lift up families, communities, and to ensure that New York City Public Schools and the mayor and the chancellor are engaged to get the dollars into our communities so we can all rise together.
Now, Karine, you said something there we talk about on our program periodically, not often enough, I believe, but I think it flies over many people's heads, is because many people are not business owners. Many people are not trying to get contracts for city opportunities that are going out. In New York City right now, in the totality of New York City, has the current regime, Eric Adams' regime, been engaging with Black and women and Black and brown businesses? And to what degree are contracts getting in the hands to deal with opportunities from the school board or from any other, I guess, factions of the city, business, construction, any of these things? Are those contracts being gotten to a larger constituency?
Yes. I'm glad you asked that question. Mayor Adams has been a huge champion, and Chancellor Banks as well. And that's why they appointed me as the first ever Chief Diversity Officer for New York City Public Schools. Mayor Adams has an aggressive goal of contracting up to $25 billion by 2025 and $60 billion by 2030 in MWB business. And
what is MWB? What is MWB?
Minority and women-owned business enterprises.
Okay.
He has been very intentional around making sure that all city agencies have a focus on increasing contracting opportunities and uncontracted opportunities. And so taking down the barriers, allowing access to be able to participate in the solicitation. And for too many years, it's been less than 2% MWBE participation and utilization within certainly the New York City Public Schools. The city's a bit better. But now with Mayor Adams' focus on economic empowerment, every city agency is focused on increasing MWBE utilization. He's also appointed the first ever Chief Business Development Officer in Michael Garner, who has a long history of success. And we are partnered closely with him to ensure that we are making the necessary changes to the laws, the rules and legislation so that we can allow more Black and brown businesses, women businesses, and small businesses to participate in this important economy that New York City provides.
So we'll get to Eric Adams. We'll get to Eric Adams in a second, because this sounds like something that we should give him a positive check and a positive column around Eric Adams. We'll see how it plays out. But for the layman listening to this conversation, maybe somebody like Laura Stiles. You're not a layman, but we'll use you as an example. You make T-shirts. You have a T-shirt company, and you're like, yo, I heard that the public school system needs T-shirts. I want that contract. And because you're a woman,
Right.
and because you represent the Latino community, they say, you know what? We need to make sure you get this business. And so there's money sitting there for the city to do business with you as a business owner. And so for years, with all of the Latinos and all of the women and all of the black people in this city, for years, the billions of dollars that is sitting there has gone to less than 2% of black women and minority-owned businesses.
Because they were going to the same businesses that they all knew, and
course,
everyone's
over and over.
friends and know each other forever.
But the other piece, that's exactly why we're doing this, right? So it's called From the Ground Up, Flipping the Hood. And so the first real estate we own is in our minds, right? And so that's where we got to have our first investment. And so, as you know, E, I've been on the real estate development tip for over 15 years. And so this initiative of Yoba Development, which is my company, is about being able to translate these opportunities from government to the layperson, to your point. Because the government has a lot of opportunities, but they don't always do the best job telling their own story. And so why are we doing From the Ground Up, Flipping the Hood for 2 days over Friday and Saturday of this week? Because we want to provide these opportunities, the information to people. We talk about how do we close the wealth gap. We're not going to close the wealth gap until we close the information gap. And who's the one that's going to stand up to make sure that the people have the information? And that's what we're doing. And so that number, I'm a vendor with DOE, and I'm also an MWB certified business. And so I am the message that we bring. And as you know, as a serial entrepreneur, you pointing your finger? What's up?
Because I wanted to jump right in there because as you said, information, and it just triggered my brain. You said, as you guys say words that I think people don't know, like, for instance, MWB certified business. How did that happen? I didn't.
So
how do you get it? And do you need to have a certification to get a contract with the city?
You don't have to have a certification. It just makes life easier. So with Karine's job, the reason why she's put in place, and there's never been someone like her before, is to make sure that those who are MWBEs, who are certified, understand where the opportunities are, get the messaging out. And so we met last year, and I've become one of her biggest fans because this woman goes hard in the paint to make sure that people are getting what they need, right? And you can talk the numbers, Karine. You know your effectiveness in the time that you've been there. You've only been there a year, and talk about that a little bit.
Sure. We've seen a huge increase in the work that we've been doing in just a year, as Malik has stated. We've seen a 47% increase in utilization and 42% higher than previous year. We've already, this fiscal year, which ends in June and February, we had already had more sales through MWB businesses than we did all of last year. Our goal is to, we've made changes to our procurement rules that allows us to increase participation with MWBEs, as well as require subcontracting on many of the large contracts. So we're finding many entry points for small minority-owned businesses and women-owned businesses to participate. I have to say, people really have to get certified, and it's not as difficult as we think. While you can do some uncontracted business with the school system without certification, that's not where the money is. The money is once you get your small business services certification. Now you have to have a business, right? It can't be an idea or a hobby. It has to be a small business. Mm-hmm. And there's technical assistance to help you get through that, because the programs that we're developing are targeted to those certified MWBs, because that way we can train them, we can provide the supports they need, we can get them the information that they need so that they can truly participate in solicitations and respond to requests for proposals, requests for bids, so that they're prepared. And as we said, $38 billion, $12 billion of goods and services are happening every single year. And the goal is to get more billions and billions of dollars into our communities, to lift up our families, to lift up our communities.
Because that's going to help somebody buy a house. That's going to help somebody buy a house. That's going to help somebody leverage that house that they bought into getting a kid to go to college, and et cetera, et cetera. And it doesn't happen if you don't own assets. And the only way to own assets is to have some sustained income over a period of time.
And that's the thing. So in real time, that number, that 12 billion that you mentioned, 0.01% went to Black and brown businesses, to put in perspective. So we're talking $12 million out of 12 billion. And so there's, to your point, if you do have a t-shirt company, and to Karine's point, if you're an MWB certified business, you can go to that local school your kid might go to and build that relationship with that principal. Up to $25,000, you could do a contract with that school without having to solicit and compete. It could be a direct opportunity. That's something that she personally has done. But this activation, as much as it's about the city, government, and opportunities, we also have federal contractors going there as well. So on the federal contracting side, like the SBA 8A program, in New York State alone, there was over $30 billion available for Black-owned businesses last year. Only 80 Black-owned businesses applied. 80.
Wait, say that again. Say that again. Say that again.
Over $30 billion was available for contract work with the federal government, but only 80 Black-owned businesses applied last year. That's the SBA 8A program. So as much as we have the real estate opportunities, we have investment opportunities, joint venture opportunities, scholarship opportunities. There's a speaker coming who is offering a full ride at University of Florida master's degree program. Is that it?
No, sorry. No, sorry.
Say
it again. Go with University of Florida master's program.
We got the university. So a brother named John Crossman, he had, and this is a white dude. He's a Republican who's one of our keynotes. He has a full ride scholarship, master's degree at the University of Florida for a qualified HBCU student. We got a sister named Venus Quatz, who's a federal contractor from upstate New York, Buffalo, Afro-Latina, working with NASA. She's offering space camp scholarships for kids.
Space camp? Laura went to outer space.
I did not go to outer space, but I went to space camp when I was in sixth grade.
Yeah, so we have a smorgasbord of opportunities. And for me, you know me well, and this is about how do we bring community together, like-minded people who think the way we think about cooperative economics, collective responsibility in real time. Not just talking about it, but really moving on it. And so we have about 400 people, about a third of them are young people in temporary housing who are coming, making sure that some of our most vulnerable populations get put up on game on how they can lift themselves out of this poverty. And I am my brother's keeper. I am my sister's keeper. We are the ones we've been waiting for, and that's why we know what we're doing.
This is Brooklyn Navy Yard, Friday and Saturday. Is there a specific time? I don't know if we gave out a show-up time.
So doors open at 8:30. We go to 5.
8:30 a.m. to 5.
You mentioned the mayor. He, schedule allows, he will be out doing closing remarks tomorrow. And Chancellor Banks, I want to give him a shout out because he's allowed as a vendor with DOE. We're running the first real estate development curriculum for high school students out of the Brooklyn STEAM Center. And David Banks, our chancellor, has been a big champion, and Eric, of this work, making sure that these young people understand how this built environment comes to be. The program is called I Build New York. I'm really proud of it. Those young people who we've been working with over the last, 3-4 months with this pilot are all participating in this activation. We got the partnership with Pratt School of Architecture. And so for me, man, it's living the dream. It's what I've always been working toward. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to, as soon as you finish your thought, I didn't want to interrupt your thought. I was just going to go back to Karine. And because Malik, this is a dream come true for you. You being a kid that grew up in the Bronx, New York, and just have been a part of the fabric of the city is not only in entertainment, but also just curating and creation of opportunities for people, as you talked about your real estate development stuff that you've been doing, as well as other work with the youth, right? Karine, on the more political side, a lot of people aren't good at networking and they're not good at maintaining relationships, right? And some of this work, not only showing up to the Brooklyn Navy Yard on Friday and Saturday, but showing up and meeting people there, getting cards, making calls, asking for a meeting, getting to understand the inner workings of things is how you become a part of this network. Because I'm sure where you sit, Karine, you see a lot of people who have been for generations a part of New York City's network of going after these contracts, correct?
That's right. And so I think that's why it's so important, the work that we're doing. We're being very deliberate and intentional. We're investing in business development, building a team that will provide technical assistance, that will help teach our small businesses how to network, what they need to do. We're bringing together contingencies of small businesses with some of the larger businesses, because with the new rules around small business MWBE required 30% subcontracting. Now the large businesses are looking to us to help them to identify those small businesses that are ready to do this work with them. We talk about the diversity of our city. 70% of our students in our schools are Black and brown children. 85% of the New York City public school is BIPOC. So when you look at that, there's enough people that are working in the school system or have kids in the school system that can certainly participate. So we're taking the time to build technical assistance, to build mentorship programs, to identify those businesses that are primed for growth and development, and really creating an opportunity for them to have technical assistance. We'll teach them and train them on how to network, where they need to be, and how to make those connections, because without them, we will not meet our goals. And changing the rules of the law, the legislation, and the policy now opens the door wide open. And now we need the people to walk through the door and to help us help them so that they can participate in this economy.
And if I can't make it to Brooklyn Navy Yard this weekend, I have plans on whatever's going on in my life, and I'm just hearing this information. What is another avenue for someone to contact you, Karine, or follow? Is there a social media account that gives out information? Is there a website? What is the other ways that people can contact these offices, get to the people to help their company, if it's newly created or been established, to get the relationship, to get the certification, and to pitch their company to be a part of this opportunity?
So the best way to reach us now is via email. We're still building out our social media because, again, this is new. MWBE@schools with an S .nyc.gov. Again, MWBE@schools.nyc.gov. If they email us there with their information, we will determine the best place for them to be to start their journey and getting certified, getting a vendor number, and getting some training that'll support them to work with New York City Public Schools, as well as I said, the mayor's really focused on creating this type of opportunity citywide. So I'm in a cohort of other people like myself and all the other city agencies, and we're working very close together to ensure that there's opportunities across the city.
Right now, this is just a Department of Education, but you're telling us this is going to expand to all the different pieces of the city.
Correct. That's right. It has expanded already.
Yeah, and we should know that, there's a wave happening, right? I think that there's a consciousness raising, whether it's the cats like Earn Your Leisure, whether it's, the work that so many people are doing that's about how do we bring this information to the community, whether it's through social media, through holding social events. And so to the point about the network, right? I just came from the African American Mayors Association conference in DC. Same thing is happening on a nationwide level with Black mayors, right? That's a consortium of 500 Black mayors. There's something called the Economic Mobility Leadership Institute. There's 9 cohort cities: Little Rock, Charlotte, New Orleans, Birmingham. I forget the other 4 or 5. But that same idea that we are the ones.
I think Newark's in there too, right?
Yes.
Newark might be. Might be. I think Mount Vernon might be in that as well. But and I met with a bunch of these mayors, but the same idea is happening with these mayors. The same thing is happening, I said, with the federal contracting. And so between people, whether you're doing contract work, whether you're doing real estate development work, whether you're doing work in technology, what's happening is, if you're paying attention, there's a lot more networking going on. There's a lot more Black folks working together. There's a narrative that we've heard for a long time that we don't like to work together. That is not true. If it ain't happening in your circle, and you know this from our own circle of friends.
That's right.
Like, this is how we move. And so that's why we're doing this, to let people know we're going to come public with it. We're going to bring it to the community. And this is not a one and done. This is something that we're seeking to institutionalize.
No, this is generational work.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why it's called
absolutely.
wealth building activation,
Yeah.
So,
we have to pour into those that pour into others, because that's the only way we'll get the ripple effect that's necessary so that we can all rise together. I believe all boats rise with the tide, but we have to make that happen. It has to be intentional, thoughtful, and collaborative.
Karine and Malik, they will be at the Brooklyn Navy Yard this weekend, 8:30 to 5, Friday, Saturday, from the ground up. The Chief Diversity Officer, Karine, here and it's the Department of Education, correct?
New York City Public Schools.
New York City Public Schools. And Malik Yoba, just family friend and all-around great guy from the Bronx.
Right. Yeah. But let me say this. You can go, it's not just me and Karine. We got over 50-something speakers coming from around.
And we don't know them, though. We know y'all.
But I'm just letting people know the levels, right? The undersecretary of
Commerce. You mean at the event? Yes. Yeah.
At the activation, absolutely, man.
Yes.
We got the undersecretary of Commerce, Donald Craven's coming to talk about what the MBDA is doing. That's a Minority Business Development Agency that was only codified during Biden's administration. It's been around since Nixon. And it's all about helping Black businesses grow.
And by codified, you mean locked in permanently?
Into law, absolutely. So that Congress will always make sure that they get their money. So people like David Edefeso, who's a wealth manager of a lot of celebrities, but he's also a tech entrepreneur, started something called Suchi, which is all about creating college funds for young people. From the federal contractors, from the state, like I said, we got a bunch of entrepreneurs, people in tech, like my girl Jay Watts, who started Coexist Gaming, Black woman with a gaming lounge in Times Square. That's all about workforce development in the tech space. So my boy like Keenan Williams, who started Resi, Black-owned real estate company that makes it easy to rent an apartment in 5 minutes. So from the real estate side to the technology side to the contracting side, it's not just about the government contracts. But it's about how we holistically approach business and economic development as a community.
There it is. Appreciate y'all time today. And hopefully we'll be having y'all back on to talk about some of the success stories that come from this work too. Because this is generational work. It takes time. And it also requires us as individuals that want to engage with not only people who have established businesses, but with these government contracts to have our ish together and make sure that we have the information to be prepared for the opportunity.
That's right.
And to your point about the outcomes, right? So there's the brother, skipping on his name right now, so forgive me, but he works at JP Morgan Foundation. One of the things we've been talking about is the outcomes and how we're going to come out with certain best practices from this activation. And some of that work, the research around that will be funded by the JP Morgan Foundation. And I'm saying that because that's what he said, so I'm claiming it. Before we get there.
And we got to record it, so if we got to play it back for him just in case he catches a little, he gets forgetful.
Yeah.
We'll remind him.
But that's the idea, is that it's not, like I said, a one and done, but we can take this to the next level because we're being very intentional about how we scale. Not just, and it's not about conversations, right? It's not just an event or a conference. It's called an activation because it's about moving into action.
There it is.
On these days and beyond. So
we appreciate y'all.
And I just have to make one last plug for students.
We're
bringing children into the fold for entrepreneurship opportunities. So it doesn't just stop with the adults. It's going to be a generational wealth opportunity. So we must bring the young people into this conversation to ensure that they're hearing what they need to do to succeed with us as we build this out.
There it is. Thank you guys for your time today. Friday, Saturday, Brooklyn Navy Yard. One time. Thank you.
Thank you.